You want to do the opening?
What do I do?
I bet you know how to do it.
Okay.
Do it.
Do I do it like Lad or I do it like me?
No, you would do it like Lad.
All right, ready? Tell me what.
Yeah, it's on. It's on right now.
What's happening, everybody,
That's
and
not
welcome to another special
always welcome.
episode
It's always no.
of
It's
8192 The Truth. My name is Chael Sonnen, and I am proud to introduce to you my friend, the Godfather, Joel Supernaut.
See, I thought you would do a better job of that.
That's-
It's welcome everybody to another episode of 8191 The Truth.
It is. Now that you say it out loud, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, hey guys, here special show. I have my buddy, sometimes buddy, sometimes not buddy, but brother always, Chael P. Sonnen, and we're going to talk about NCAA wrestling.
What else would we talk about? What else matters in the whole world right now?
Well, depending on which channel you watch. If you watch Fox, everything's good. And if you watch Miss H's channel, man, there's some treason and shit going on. But we're not going to get into
Let's
that.
stick on wrestling.
All right, let's stick on wrestling. I say we do this. I say you, being the genius you are at NCAA wrestling, kind of give a touch-up of each weight class. We will then pick a winner. I'll pick one, you pick one.
All right.
You get to go first, or you get to go second. You either pick the first weight class, number one, which I would assume you would defer if you wanted Snyder at the last one.
Okay, well, let me just start rambling then.
Okay.
I'm not sure where you want me to go, but okay, so the seeds came out about an hour ago.
Here, let's make sure this thing's on. Yeah, we're good.
All right, so the seeds came out about an hour ago, and they did it in a little trickle-down format. The NCAA released the top 2 seeds in each weight class every 10 minutes until they were done. So you at least knew who 1 and 2 were. But the rest of the seeds have come in. I have to preface it with this, and our wrestling fans will know to agree with me. The NCAA tournament falls apart. There's no tournament in all of sports like the NCAA wrestling tournament for guys falling out. They had a record there at one point where 9 years out of 11 years, this is a little bit of an old statistic, but 9 years out of the 11 years in the focus group, a number 1 seed went down in the very first round. That's how, got undefeated guys. Matt Lindland would be an example for our fight fans out there. He was 36-0, number 1 seed, lost his very first match. I'm just saying the NCAA tournament is just this really weird deal. And a lot of guys are met with pressure. A lot of the guys there are all very good. A lot of guys are seniors and are just ready to be done, whether they know it or not. Part of their mind is going, hey, all I got to do is bomb out of this tournament. I don't have to make weight tomorrow. In fact, I don't ever have to do this again. Just weird things happen. So the seeds were not perfect to start with. So let's start at 25, which is heavily contested from the jump. They did get that one right. The number 1 seed went to the undefeated defending national champion in Cruz. But the problem there, he had a ranking all year long about 5th. And I'm going, man, that's not right. He's the reigning national champion, which means he gets to be number 1 till he gets beat. He never lost. And some people come in and go, well, yeah, he lost to Piccinini at the All-Star Duel, but rules of wrestling are extremely clear that the All-Star Duel is an exhibition. It's not supposed to affect anything. It's supposed to be like it never happened, just a workout. So at any rate, he stumbled to 5th, but they did at least get the seed right. And then they gave Tomasello the 2. Where that gets interesting is, I think that's right. I agree with it, and I think it's right. But some people won't, because they're going to say, well, what about Suriano? He can come in and spoil the party. So they ended up dropping Suriano, undefeated, top guy, all the way down to 4. But why that's interesting is because that puts him on the same side as number 1, who is Cruz. So that leaves Lee and Tomasello on the other half. And as much as I just told you the seeds all fall apart, I would expect at that weight class those 4 guys to advance all the way to the semifinals. What happens after that, anybody knows. 33. Okay.
Hold on. Let's go ahead and pick a winner. I believe any one of those guys could win that tournament, and maybe even somebody in the field at that weight. But again, it's the NCAA tournament. Man, I'm going to go with Spencer Lee. I'm going to have him beating Suriano in the finals.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if you're a gambling man, your safest bet is Tomasello. That doesn't mean I think he's going to win it. He certainly could. I can't just answer it quickly. I have to say this. Look, Nick Suriano pulled out of the Big Tens. He's undefeated. He was the number 1 ranked wrestler. He won the Midlands, of which Lee was present. Suriano was the number 1 guy, but he pulled out of the Big Tens on an injury medical default. People thought he got hurt at the Big Tens. He did not. He was sick going into the Big Tens, and they don't know what he has. There's a rumor that he has a staph infection, but he's also been very tired and sleeping a lot and in bed, which would lead other people to speculate possibly he's got mono. Mono is very, very hard to wrestle with. I don't know if you've ever tried to. I had mono one time in my life, and it greatly affects your ability to perform. I didn't see that at the Big Tens. I saw a straight-up killer at the Big Tens. So I don't know how much it's going to affect him. It's all speculative, but a healthy Suriano definitely could win the weight. I guess we know that, don't we? I'm trying to get my thoughts together. You want to know who I'm going to go with? I got to give you a name. You want a name?
You got to go.
Cruz.
I like that. You're going with the defending champ.
I'm going with the defending champ.
All right, let's go to 33.
All right, again, they got this one right. So they put Seth Gross, our world team member, defending finalist. They put him at the 1 seed. They put Stikic. How do you say it?
No idea.
Stipik. I always get him confused with Stipe Miocic. That's what happens to me there. So Michigan, they put number 2. The problem they've got there is Michigan will beat Seth Gross. The question is, can he get to him? So he's only got 1 loss this year. It was to Austin DeSanto. To remind people, that's the guy. He's a true freshman, but that's the guy that upset Spencer Lee last year in the Pennsylvania State Finals. Biggest upset in high school wrestling history for America. DeSanto destroyed Stikic at the Las Vegas Open. Beat him by 13 points. If I'm wrong, he beat him by 14 points in the second round out of nowhere. Wasn't supposed to happen. But Austin got upset a week ago. So, he's got to make it there. It's just kind of a mess, where anybody could do it. I guess I will go with Gross if you need an answer, but I will tell you right now, if Stipic gets to the finals, Stipic will beat Seth Gross.
I am going to go with Gross against Cade Brock, and I'm going with Gross because he's a good, solid cat.
Now, you think he's going to have Cade Brock in the finals because they're on the same side? Or why'd you mention Cade?
I thought we talked about this earlier, and he's on the other side.
No, semifinals.
Oh.
Hard match.
I'm going to go with Seth. Seth against who's the 2 and 3?
Well, I can tell you who 2 is Michigan, the Big Ten champion.
Yeah, he ain't making it.
He may not. If he does, he'll be the champion. But at any rate, let's move to 41. So 41 was about the most underwhelming weight in the country. And it was underwhelming because never in the history of 141-pound American NCAA wrestling has a champion been boring. But for 2 straight years, it was the most boring weight out there with Dean Heil. He went on a 55-match win streak, won 2 national championships, and it's the match that you go to the concession stand for. Dull as could be. Last guy you wanted to see wrestle and the biggest guy you cheer against. Well, they did a rule change. And people speculated before the change came out that this was going to hurt Heil. I didn't think it would. I thought he would adapt. Sure enough, it did. He dropped 3 matches in a row. He then lost to the Iowa State backup 141-pounder, so he dropped 4, wins 55 matches straight with 2 national titles in there, drops 4 matches in a season after a rule change. So, but with that said, it sounded like I was insulting Heil, and I was. He is as born as watching paint dry. But now he's kind of the guy you're cheering for. You kind of got the soft spot for him. They changed the rules. He's a senior. He's a little down and out, but he's doing everything right. He's trying hard. So now he's kind of a guy that you go, okay, well, now I'm sympathizing with you. Wouldn't mind seeing you win the tournament. They put Ironman as the 2 seed. That's a mistake. That's wrong. and they put Meredith as the 1 seed, that's also a mistake and wrong. You could put Heil as the 1 seed. At the end of the day, Heil versus Meredith is a very lopsided feud. I believe it's 6-2 Heil. But they will always favor the last match, and the last match was at the Big 12 Championships, and Meredith beat him. You could talk about these till you're blue in the face. Yanni DeCamillis wins the weight. And if he doesn't win it, you want to know who wins? It's between McKenna and it's between DeCamillis. One of them will be your national champion.
You have been on McKenna for this. Is he a senior this year?
No, he's a junior, but he's
got
a world silver medal.
You've been riding him hard for 3 years. I've got to go with Heil just because you got to go with the 2-time defending champ. I don't care what the rules are. It's wrestling. It's wrestling, and John Smith is his coach. So if there's a way to figure it out, it will happen. But we talked about this earlier. You got a quarterfinal match. You got Yanni D, who you believe is going to walk through the weight class, against Heil in the quarters.
Yeah, I don't believe he'll walk through the weight class. He's going to have to wrestle, but I think he wins it. Or McKenna. McKenna can come ruin everybody's party. I'll remind you, as recently as 5 days ago, McKenna won in the Big Ten Finals 13-0. The single most dominant Big Ten Finals match that there was. He's also a world silver medalist. He's also an NCAA All-American. So, I mean, I'm just saying he can spoil the bracket as long as he's wrestling well. But if you just need a good straight, it's going to be one of those two. So either Yanni wins it or McKenna wins it. Mark my words.
Your
Jaden
words.
Ironman is a very good wrestler. I do not want to bash him at all. That is the wrong pick for the number 2 seed. That's quite frankly, that's outrageous.
Okay, 49.
49, not really worth discussing. Zane.
Oh yeah, you're right. Zane and Sorsen for the 3rd time.
That could be right. Is that who Zane had to beat the first year?
Well, I know.
You know what? He didn't beat him last year. Last year, Missouri made the finals. Sorensen was not in the finals last year.
Yeah, we got Zane there. Now we go to 57, where you said Knopf wasn't even the number 1 seed.
They screwed that up, man. They screwed that up bad. So they punished him. They punished him for getting hurt. He never gave up a point, even while hurt. He missed 1 or 2 matches, but that's none of their business whatsoever. That is absolutely wrong. He's the defending champion, and he's undefeated. Knopf should be your number 1 seed, but that's not the way it is. They gave it to a freshman. They gave it to Hidley, who's a stud, absolute stud. But unless there's really something wrong with Knopf, and I will remind you, at the Big Tens, in the match that he wrestled, it was 0-0 going to the 2nd round. That's fine. There's a million of those at the Big Tens, right? Well, not with Jason Knopf. When's the last time he's ever gone 3 minutes and not scored a point? So people are a little speculative on his injury. That is not the seeding committee's job. That is not the coach's job. He is the defending champion, and he is undefeated. Per the rules of wrestling, he is the number 1 seed. That is a mistake.
All right, you got Knopf. I'm going to take the North Carolina kid that I don't even know who his name is.
Hidley. Yeah, fine.
All right.
Good pick. Tough wrestler.
Now we're going to Imar.
Yeah. So I'll break down that weight for you. There's not a lot of a discussion there either. Imar wins the weight. Spoiler alert. But it is a very stacked bracket. And if you look at the other side of the bracket, you know, you've got Joseph in there, who should have been the 2 seed.
Who's the defending national champ?
Joseph.
Yes.
He should be the 2 seed. He's not. So, let's see here. You've got a world champion in Richie Lewis, but he stumbled a little bit. I get why his seed comes in. I believe he came in number 6. You've got Marinelli.
But now Richie could beat. Richie is the. Beside from Joseph, Richie's the only guy that can beat Imar. Where do they match up on the bracket?
Well, not so fast. So Logan Massa is probably the best wrestler in the weight. He doesn't have the pace of Imar, but he's close. Imar has a pace and a competitive drive that will take him to the top, but Massa is probably the best move for move, skill for skill, probably the best wrestler in the weight. He had a 11-8 match with Mark Hall in freestyle, Mark Hall's style, just to put that in perspective for you, when he was only 19 years old. He can get down, no question about it. Richie Lewis has a world championship, was 3rd at the Big Ten. threw Aymar straight to his back, and then got thrown to his back himself. So he can wrestle. That's a very tough weight, but to make believe that anyone's going to stop Aymar, you're just simply not paying attention.
I concur.
74 is a lot of fun. You've got 2 world medalists in it, so everybody hit Splitsville to get out of the weight class. So you really just have a 2-horse race between Zahid and Mark Hall. The problem with the statement I just made is you also got Bo Jordan in there, who has a win over Mark Hall, and they're on the same side of the bracket. So there's going to have to be some wrestling to be done. I think it's pretty safe to say you're going to come hook or crook see Zahid versus Mark Hall. This will be their 3rd time wrestling in collegiate. They wrestled in the semifinals last year of the NCAA tournament. It's Zahid's one and only loss of his entire college career. And then they wrestle at the All-Star Duel, which again you are not supposed to count, but they did count it, which is why the defending champion Mark Hall is not the number 1 seed. Again, it's against the rules that are written down in black and white, but here we are. Between the 2 matches that they had, there was 1 takedown, and that takedown went to Zahid.
Why wouldn't they just wrestle, since that match is going overtime, why wouldn't they just start in the overtime period?
Because that's not the way the sport is played.
Okay.
But that's a great match right there, and I think that, again, if you want to talk safe money, you got to put it on Mark Hall. He knows when to win. I'm going to go with Zahid.
I'm going to go with Zahid, too.
Let's move up to 84. You got a two-dog race right there. It's between Bo Nickel and Miles Martin.
I don't know about that. I think Martin could get knocked off by the Michigan kid.
Okay.
If they're on the same side of the bracket.
By Amy, yeah, he could. He absolutely could. I suppose now that I made that statement, I wanted to argue with you. I think what I was thinking when I said that is you've got Nickel, and you have one guy who can beat Nickel.
The only guy.
Right. The Michigan kid cannot beat him.
Yes.
The Cornell kid cannot beat him. That is why I said Nickel Martin. I do not think Martin is likely to beat him. I am going to pick Nickel, but, and there is a but, they've met plenty of times before, and Martin has got his hand raised, so he can do it.
I'm going to go with Martin just because, for whatever reason, I don't like Nickel.
Okay, wait, so you just argued with me and said Martin may not even make the final.
That's okay.
No, it is okay. I'm just making sure I'm understanding you right. So you don't even know if he'll make the final, but ultimately you're picking him to win the whole weight.
Yes.
You can do that. That's within the rule. It's weird, but you can do that.
That just happened.
1, because you can, and 2, because it's your show.
There we go.
All right, fair enough. So let's go up to 97, because this one has me half pissed off. Colin Moore's your number 1 seed, and they got that right, and they gave him the number 1 seed, but they didn't give him the number 1 ranking. They gave it to Darmstadt out of Cornell because he's undefeated. The other side of that, and Darmstadt can wrestle. I've watched him, and he is very, very good wrestler. His schedule is weak, and it just is. It just is in comparison to, say, a Big Ten schedule. You want my pick for the weight? I think that Rashid from Penn State upsets them all and walks out of their national championship.
I tell you one thing, if you want to watch a guy wrestle the way I believe a guy should wrestle, it's Moore.
Oh, shame on you.
Oh my goodness, I love that style. He just beats on the head. He's a bully. He doesn't do much, but he breaks his guy and he wins. And then his technique gets better after you can watch, that guy just broke. That guy just broke. And it's so bad that you start feeling sorry. This will happen at the tournament. This Moore kid will break people and then score another 14 points on them.
A lot of people say what you say. I just personally don't like that style. Wrestling is, particularly collegiate, about who is toughest. And you're talking about cardio and who can bang and who's a brute and who can stay in there because it's such a long and drawn-out match. And I know people like that Iowa style. I would love to see wrestling go to a 2-2-2 format, do away with the 3-minute period, and bring athleticism back into the fold like freestyle does, which is a more athletic sport where the tough guys don't just being tougher, just being a marathon guy isn't better. Many people will disagree with me, but at any rate, Moore's a stud, and he's everything you just said he is. I just think that with that match with Rashid, and this is a risky bet by me, very risky. Moore is your safest bet. I just think with that match against Rashid, and the fact that he scored the same way twice and almost scored the exact same move 4 times, Rashid started to figure out as the match went on, and now they've got tape on him, and I think Chael's going to break that tape down. It's risky, but I'm going to predict that Rashid gets it done.
This is the only thing that compares to when you talk about politics. You are so good at doing this.
I appreciate
that. You are. How can you not be calling this? You should be calling this.
I'll tell you this. I don't know the answer. I mean, thank you. That's a tremendous compliment. But I will tell you this. I asked ESPN if I could call it, and offered to call it for free. I said I just want to be on the floor, and I want to be able to see, and I will do the whole job just in exchange for the press pass, because I can't see from the suites. I can't see well enough. And they still didn't hire me. So I don't know. I don't know what contracts those other guys had or how I was
think it's...
They didn't want me even for free. They didn't want me.
They're doing a damn good job of hosting it.
Boy, are they.
Finally.
Yeah, but about 3 years ago they started
covering
every
match. You can watch it on the computer. You can. They're finally doing it right. All right, now the big one. Let me ask you. And you'll know, when was the last time we had a match? Dake Taylor.
Well, you're close. And when I tell you the answer, you're going to be mad at yourself. Gizwowski-Schneider.
Right. No.
Well, Gizwowski-Schneider is officially the highest watched wrestling match of all time because of ESPN. Yeah, so they do officially win it. Does that mean that if Bannock and Schultz got ESPN coverage in 1983 that would hold? You could only speculate, but that is officially it has all the numbers, all the ratings, including the live gate and everything. So I'll tell you this. I will tell you this, and I'm going to remind your listeners that 12 minutes ago when we started this conversation, you said I'll give you your pick first so that you can take Schneider. I do not predict Schneider. In this regard, I do predict Kuhn will beat Schneider. I am not certain Kuhn makes it to him. Kuhn is a very bad matchup for Schneider. Schneider's a bad matchup for everybody. Schneider's the greatest wrestler ever. Be 100 years until we see a guy with 3 gold medals and a year of college eligibility left. He is hands down the greatest ever. Now, you're talking about a size issue. You're not talking about who the better wrestler is. You're talking about who's going to win the wrestling match, and that's a totally different conversation. I will predict that Kuhn will upset him. Should they meet, I don't know that Kuhn makes it to him. Kuhn has Sam Stoll problems. He's got Nick Nevis problems, regardless of the fact that he pinned Stoll in the first round at the Big Tens. He caught him and threw him, and I think that Kuhn gets there. I do think that Kuhn gets there. I do think that Kuhn is going to be your champion, but I have to concede to you that big match that everybody's anticipating, your Dake Taylor, is not guaranteed. If you want the big match that you can count on, it is Zahid versus Mark Hall. That is the big match of the Big Tens. And should we get Spencer Lee versus Suriano, that might on the spot replace it. But as deep as we are at 125, we can't really assure anybody. We can pretty much assure people that it will be Zahid and Mark Hall.
I'm gonna go with the world champ. I'm gonna go with the Olympic champ. I'm gonna go with Snyder. I have one final.
May I digress for a moment here? Okay.
Great word.
We often talk about and we complain as wrestlers and as wrestling fans the lack of marketing in wrestling. That dialogue's been around a really long time, and somebody steps in every 10 years that's going to be the saving grace, and he's got some money and he's got some ideas, and he fizzles out and just goes, man, the fans and supporters of wrestling are a bunch of freaking flakes. And they are. All of us that love wrestling and we want to support it, when's the last time you packed up a car and drove down to a hometown dual meet, put your $10 down, sat your ass in a seat and watched a dual meet? I'm guilty too. You're guilty too. All our wrestling, we're just not a good community that way, but we do come together for the NCAAs. I want to say this to you. I was upset, and I'm still upset, when Schneider was going to wrestle Kuhn. This is when wrestling needed to come out. USA Wrestling, International Wrestling, our Greco-Roman leaders, our freestyle leaders, who essentially, and I got to remind you of this, are competing for the same athletes. After college, our Greco program is competing for the same guys that the freestyle program's competing for, right? We're not getting new guys that are wrestling. It's the crop that comes out of the NCAA, and then when they choose to go international, what style are they going to go? The play here for this match, and the obvious play, was to build this match for what it was. The U.S. Open Greco-Roman champion is taking on the U.S. Open freestyle champion in a collegiate match. Had that been done the way it should have been done, and then Kuhn comes out with the upset, you now get to impress upon every kid, whether it's true or not, that Greco-Roman trumps freestyle. And the fact that they missed it, the fact that they didn't put that out, that they didn't make their own poster, they go, well, it's an NCAA, it's none of our business. Yeah, it is your business. You've got a digital department. Go build a poster and put it out through all of your networks at USAW and let them know, man, this is what it is. These are your guys. Just because they have NCAA eligibility, they also have USAW cards. You have the Greco champion taking on the freestyle champion in a collegiate match. It is tremendous. It is beyond rare that you ever have a U.S. Open. We're talking about Schneider having 3 gold medals in a year of eligibility. Back off of that, because that never happens. Even though it did, that just simply, you don't ever have a U.S. Open champion with a year of eligibility. In this case, you had 2 in the same weight class, in opposing styles, meeting in the 3rd style. I cannot believe they missed that opportunity to build that match.
All right, I'm glad you touched on that, because we talk about the sport, and this is what blows my mind. I went to the high school state tournament. Every time I go to the high school tournament, I say the same thing. You could put yourself in a time machine and go and pick any year, and aside from the clothes, you wouldn't be able to tell what year it was. Same thing's going on. It's the biggest thing in the world to everybody that's going on in that building. Why and how is it that so few high school wrestlers have any idea or care about the NCAA wrestling tournament? Is it because their parents make the state wrestling high school tournament the biggest thing on the planet, and after that is over, there's nothing to look forward to? Because I've never understood it. I've always, when it was just, there used to be one magazine that you could get in wrestling when I was coming up.
USA Wrestler.
Yep. And I would get them. I don't know where I got them at, because I didn't have money for them. But I would read them front to back. I would read about every kid. I would read every stat. I'd follow it the next time I got it. And when I got to college, I realized that all the people that I was wrestling with in college, they didn't even know who was on the other teams.
Sure.
How is that happens? And when you talk about how do we fix this sport, that has to be a reason. That has to be something right there. If there's nothing after high school, only for a select group of people, how do we promote the sport from when you can't even do it from within sight?
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that, but I can share my own stories with you. So here's the thing. Here's how it's looked at. We got to change the way that it's looked at, right? The NCAA and the colleges want the high school coaches to push it. The college coaches on the NCAA level are scratching their heads going, guys, how do your kids not know who my team is and who my squad is? How are they not looking up to us? I control the money. I can actually give you money to wrestle in the form of a scholarship. How do you not know who my starting 41-pounder is? You're a wrestler in this state. You're sacrificing. You're trying to win a state championship. You don't know who my starting 57-pounder is? And they scratch their head. But then the high school coaches are going, what incentive do I have to let them know? My job for high school is to get as many kids to the state tournament as I can, and then get as many wins, to get as many points, to get as high up as I can towards a trophy. That's my job. So there's always a confusion on whose job it is to educate these kids. But I will share with you, Jesse Culp, who you know very well, my lifelong teammate, started training together when we were 9, started wrestling every Saturday together.
He's at wrestling practice right now.
Right now with his kid. Loves it. Went to Division I wrestler on a scholarship, okay? All his brothers wrestled. His dad was into wrestling. His brother-in-law is the head wrestling coach of Sandy, still to this day, the great Larry Topliff. I was a senior in high school and had a conversation with Jesse, who I've known since I was 9. So half of my life at this point. Joel, he did not know who Kenny Monday was, and he did not know who John Smith was.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
I was dumbfounded, and I was mad. I teased him for it. But as I look back, and I'm always left with that. Anytime I get asked about these, how did these kids, because I was like you, man, I read the USA Wrestler, front to back, it wasn't big enough, and I can tell you how you got it. If you had a membership card to USA Wrestling, you had to put your address down, they mailed it out for free to everybody on that list.
Okay.
That's how it ended up at your house and how you got it. Long after I wrestled, I continued to renew my membership card so that I could get the newspaper. At any rate, I was so upset and so confused. And why I'd be mad at him, I haven't the foggiest idea. But I was mad. I teased him. I told other people. They joined me in teasing him that he did not know who our heroes, Kenny Monday and John Smith, were. And this is a Division I scholarship athlete. I blamed him at 18. At 40, it's not his fault. Somebody missed. Somebody missed. Getting the word out.
All right. I do have one.
Does that blow your mind? Let the listeners know how weird that is. That's like being a fight fan and not knowing how John Jones is.
It happens all the time. It happens all the time.
Sure.
Last question, because this popped up, and I don't know the answer. I know who I think JB versus Kenny Monday.
Get out of the car. We're fighting. Film it. We're going to fight.
I don't want to fight.
Jordan Burroughs versus Kenny Monday?
Yeah.
You know what? I shouldn't give you a hard time because that's actually a very good question.
You're saying Kenny.
Absolutely. I'm saying Kenny.
Okay.
You want to know why I'm saying Kenny?
I don't know.
Because I asked Kenny.
Oh, and Kenny said, see, I love that. I love that.
Now, here's what you have to know.
I love that.
Here's what you have to know. In my little piece of theater about his fight, of course I'm kidding. This is a great conversation. Jordan Burroughs is the most sound. This is over the Brands. This is over Smith. This is over Chael. He is the most sound wrestler I've ever seen. There is not 1 second of a match where he doesn't wrestle. I have seen him exhausted. I have seen him up by 3 and 4 points with 2 and 3 seconds left, and he will fight a step out. He could step out, no problem. He still wins the match. He will fight a step out, tooth and nail, like his life depends on it. He wrestles every position better than anyone I have ever seen step on a piece of wrestling. So it is not a foregone conclusion that Kenny wins. However, I do cling to the old guard. I would accurately argue to you that wrestling was at its best and its toughest in the 80s because that was the pre-breakup of the Soviet Union. This is when we still had to beat the true Russians, the USSR. And Kenny did those things on multiple occasions. I also asked Kenny Monday. And Kenny Monday is a 3-time Olympian. At this point, Jordan's 2. So you can argue all those colorful, beautiful medals he has. I'm going to make my own arguments here. And they're going to hold up in court. But I said to Kenny, who would win if you wrestled Jordan? And he didn't just say I beat him. He did not just say that. It was about a 10-minute answer. And he broke it down in only the way that a wrestling genius could. And he started talking about different positions. He said, listen, from the tie-up, he's not a threat. I had a fireman's carry and I had a lateral. I win that position. He said from a front chest lock position, he's not going to score. He's not going to look to tip you. He's not going to look for a front headlock and look to tip you. He's going to look to spin behind or get to your leg and advance from there. He broke down every single position and said what he would do. But if I got to a front chest lock, I might score 3. If I got to a front headlock, I might choke you to sleep. If I get on top, and he said Jordan Burroughs has a great leg lace, but I had a leg lace, a bow and arrow, and he broke the entire match down with every single position. And the reason that he knew Jordan so well, and he could give you specific examples of Sargouche and guys that Burroughs had wrestled and tell you specifically his positions, is because he was training Chris Perry at the time, and he was training Chris Perry to beat Jordan Burroughs. So he was staying up at night breaking down Burroughs' film and trying to figure out where to get. Just because he can identify those positions does not make him the winner. However, because he could identify those positions, convinced me Kenny Monday's the winner.
I'm gonna go with Kenny on that one too, just because, again, that was my hero.
Sure.
Kenny and that
Jordan
weight class.
Let me ask you this: does Jordan Burroughs beat Dave Schultz?
Yeah.
Okay. He does. That is the answer. Yes. It's just I figured most wrestling people, because that's blasphemy to say, would say no. At which point I would pull out my trump card of go to YouTube, because Kenny Monday outscored him 14-3 in one day. Wrestled him twice in one day for the final wrestle-off in '88.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're talking about, and the only way you can do it is at their very best, and I think we've seen Jordan's very best. I think even though he may win another world championship, he may win another Olympic title.
Just on retaining.
Yeah. We've seen his best. When Kenny was at his best, man, that was something to watch.
Yeah.
That was something to watch. All right, brother, thank you for this. I needed it.
I've told you about the rope-a-dope with Kenny. I told you how he rope-a-dope Pat Smith.
No.
I haven't told you the rope-a-dope.
You did, but you tell such good stories. You tell such great stories. Let's hear it again.
I'll tell it 20 more. Okay, you've heard of the rope-a-dope, Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman, right? Where Muhammad Ali goes onto the rope and just lets Foreman tee off on him round after round after round until Foreman was exhausted, and then Ali went to work, and that's called the rope-a-dope. He roped and treated him like a dope, right? The rope-a-dope. But a lot of people don't know where that term comes from. That's where it came from. So that's in battle, and that's actually a common thing. The Iranians wrestle like that, the Cubans wrestle like that, the Russians wrestle like, right? They always look exhausted and tired, and then they explode with about 40 seconds left to get all their points. Sometimes 20 seconds left, get all their points. Kenny Monday rope-a-doped Pat Smith in 1996 in a walkout. So here's what happened. In 1996, Pat Smith was a first ever four-time NCAA champion, of course.
At Oklahoma State.
Yes, for the Smith family. So he is the heir apparent to the throne of USA Wrestling, and everybody knows it. And he's getting ready to do shoe contracts and everything else. There's no higher clinician for a camp you could possibly pay than Pat Smith. He's the most in-demand guy in America. Well, it turns out that Kenny Monday decided to come out that year. He was retired. He decides to come out and try out for one more Olympic team. So they meet up in the final wrestle-off. It's in Spokane, Washington, and Pat Smith takes to the mat first. Pat Smith's on the mat. They got the raised mat. They got the spotlight. They got the music, the walk out of the tunnel, the whole bit. Pat Smith's on the mat. He's bouncing up and down. He's doing Michigans, which means you're squatting down your butt. You're jumping up, pulling your knees to your chest. He's firing.
What do they call those Michigans?
I don't have any idea. It's what Roy Pittman called him. He's loosening them up. He's loosening his arms. I mean, he's ready for Kenny Monday, right? Kenny Monday's music hits, the spotlight goes. Kenny Monday comes to the mat. Slow as molasses. He gets to the stairs. Oh, the stairs, there's just too much to go. Oh, he gets up three stairs. Now he's got to take his shirt off. Oh, he barely gets the shirt off. I mean, he can hardly move. He's sore and he's tired. Oh, now he's got to put the straps up. Pat Smith's jumping up and down. Smack Piss calling, come on, I'm ready to go. Referee's on the mat. Everybody's in position. The music's fading. Right? That's how long he gets one arm through the strap. Pat Smith's jumping up and down. Pat Smith's calling. Kenny Monday gets the other arm to the strap. Walks on the mat. Now he's got to shake hands and he's got to bend his knees. Oh, Joel, the effort it took. And he just barely gets that arm out there to shake hands, and he just barely bends his knee, and the referee blows the whistle. Boom, Kenny Monday explodes, throws Pat Smith flat on his back. Pat Smith fights off his back after almost getting pinned. Kenny reaches up, rips his face off, puts him right back on his back. It's 5-0. You could set that clock for an hour. An Olympic champion is not giving up a 5-0 lead. Not give a goddamn how many times Pat Smith won the national tournament. That's the Olympic champion.
That is such a good story.
He rope-a-doped him in a walkout.
He rope-a-doped him in a walkout. I have to finish with this story, even though I've been finishing since it's on the Kenny Monday bit. So Chael's been famous for years and years and years I'm picking you up tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Going to keep you until 4 o'clock. Okay. Yes. You. No. I'm telling the story.
Oh.
This. I'm telling the story. So whatever it is, okay. If I can do it, I'm in. Do I need to wear anything? This, that, and the other. Okay. So he picks me up in 7 o'clock in the morning, and he says we're going to Tacoma to do a clinician, a Roy Pitt, no, not Roy, Donnie Mack clinic with Kenny Monday. Chael's going to be the head coach, and Kenny's going to be helping him out. Now, I'm as excited as anybody in the world. I want to date this for you. This is before Chael is cool. This is before Chael is cool. He might be getting a little steam, but he's not. He doesn't have the shine that he's had at his top, and he doesn't have the shine he has now. So it's about a 2.5 hour drive, and we're like two kids in a candy store. And then about an hour goes by. We're pretty excited. Now we got about 45 minutes left to get there. And then it dawns on us. There is no way in God's green earth that we are going to a clinic and Kenny Monday's not going to be the head coach. It turns out we were right. Chael did his technique that day and Kenny came in the next day. But for an hour and 15 minutes, we thought that Chael was going to be the head coach and Kenny was going to be the assistant coach.
Yeah, that happened.
All right, guys. Peace.